You're watching a Highwire Media podcast.
Welcome to the Talkin' Texas Rangers show. I'm your host, as always, Larry Lease. And this week, we dive into all the latest Texas Ranger news. And before we dive in, we'd like to remind you can leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Is there something we missed, something we got wrong, something you disagree with? Let us know. And with that, let's jump right in. So first, we're going to take a look at 3 expendable Ranger players who the team can move before the trade deadline. The Rangers are still deciding whether they will be buyers or sellers this summer, but they have options to sell if they go that direction. The Major League Baseball trade deadline is an entertaining time. Rumors fly as hopeful contenders use it as one last moment to add reinforcement for a title run, and sellers hope to make their futures that much brighter. Texas are one of those weird teams. They are just right near the bubble, or making a push for the playoffs, or tearing down what they've built in 2025 and hope for a better season next year. Whatever decision they decide to go, they have key players for the future and the potential to make a second half playoff push. And these 3 players can be dealt in either scenario. So starting out, Sam Haggerty. The 31-year-old outfielder is one of the last remaining spring training signees, alongside pitcher Luke Jackson. And Haggerty has been a positive signing for the Rangers thus far, and the numbers definitely point towards it. With a .266 average and 64 at-bats, a home run, 6 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, and a .725 OPS, the former Seattle Mariner opened the season with AAA Round Rock as Texas expected the offense to take off. When it wasn't clicking, Haggerty was called up in May and has been on the active roster since. Although he doesn't qualify, Haggerty is among the best in the league in chase, whiff, and strikeout percentage, while also providing average defense in all 3 outfield spots and top 15% in sprint speed, which provides the team with a lot of value off the bench when October comes around. And next, Jacob Latz. Believe it or not, Jacob is one of those pitchers that all 30 MLB teams want in their bullpen. Why is that? Because he's a lefty with short and long-term potential. For example, 2 of his last 4 games were 1 inning and 4 1/3 innings of work. Then his most recent was a spot start on Sunday's series finale against the Nationals. Prior to Sunday's game, Latz entered the game with 18 1/3 innings of work and an ERA of .295 and 20 strikeouts. He still does struggle with giving up walks and hits, holding a .142 whip, but a reliever with a career .333 ERA is a hot commodity in baseball. Then add the fact he's a southpaw. Boy, is that a perfect option for anyone looking for emergency spot starts, long relief, or a 3-hitter stretch of lefties. Then finally, Hoby Milner. If Latz is a perfect option out of the bullpen, what does that make Hoby Milner? Extra perfect. Well, we all know that's not a thing, but Milner is one of the better left-handed relief options in the league, and if he was on the trade block, he'd for sure garner a bit of attention. It wasn't known just how good Milner would be this season after a rough 2024 and a tough 5-inning stretch this spring when he compiled a 12-plus ERA, but he exploded as one of Bochy's most reliable arms in the pen, surrendering only 6 earned runs in his first 24 innings this season. His freaky, almost submarine delivery from the left side is nothing short of Houdini-esque to hitters, while his 87-mile-an-hour four-seam has a .167 batting average against. Texas could certainly benefit from having him in the bullpen if they are contending, but he could prove fruitful for any other contending team. So, before you move on, is there anybody else that you think the Rangers could get rid of at the trade deadline? And now that we talk about players they should get rid of, now we're going to take a look at 3 moves that Rangers need to make before the upcoming trade deadline. After another devastating and completely avoidable loss in Tampa Bay, the Texas Rangers are inching ever so closer to becoming sellers at the 2025 trade deadline. The team has great pitching, but the failure of the offense has reached heights we've unseen of Rangers baseball in a long time. And it's gone from they'll turn it around to every part of their game is horrendous. This means for the first time in a few years, they will join the list of sellers this summer. While their goal isn't to blow up the roster, it will be nice to rid of expiring contracts or turn hot streak players into future big league talent. So these are 3 moves the Texas Rangers should make before the 2025 trade deadline. Starting off, trade Tyler Mahle. Mahle has been perhaps one of the biggest stories in baseball this year, surprising teams with a .202 ERA and a .107 whip, but has continued to fall victim to lack of run support from Texas this season. The 30-year-old right-hander is in his second season of the 2-year deal he signed with the Rangers during the 2023 offseason, and at this point in the season is only owed roughly half of that $11 million salary for the year. Mahle is the likely Rangers player to be moved at the deadline, and the list of interested teams could give Texas options. Expect the typical teams like the Dodgers and Yankees to be on that list, but another team in need of pitching in Mahle's former team in Minnesota, or at the friendly confines of Wrigley with the Cubs. Next, inquire about Adolis Garcia to the Padres. San Diego is currently getting some of the worst left field production in all of baseball, hitting for a combined average below 200, with a revolving door of Brandon Lockridge and Tyler Wade. One prime target for the Padres would be the White Sox outfielder Luis Robert Jr. But if they are willing to take a flyer on Robert, they should be willing to do the same for Garcia. When you compare the two, Garcia and Robert, while they both are playing horrible, Garcia offers more as of late. Robert is hitting 177 with an OPS below 600, 5 homers, and 20 RBIs, while Garcia is hitting 213 and nearing the 30 RBI mark and an OPS 80 points higher. And then, finally, upgrade at second base. This doesn't mean to trade Marcus Semien, although Ranger fans would be all for it. The truth of the matter is that he wouldn't get that much in return with the low production and high salary. However, it doesn't stop Texas from preparing for a future without Semien and Corey Seager. They're going to need the second half of their duo with Sebastian Walcott. Now, I don't know what Texas gives us to acquire that second baseman, but you have a handful of pitchers sparking trade interest. The Cubs' Christian Hernandez and Pedro Ramirez are two solid candidates with their top 30 with solid numbers and the versatility to play in multiple infield positions. And that fits because Chicago has a solid team, and despite Matthew Boyd, Shota Imanaga, and Jameson Talon, apologies for butchering all these names wrong, in the rotation, an additional arm would bring that rotation to the next level. And now on to our next topic. We're going to take a look at some of the offensive surges, Rookie of the Year race, and the 2025 MLB Draft. Last week, few series for the Texas Rangers have been what the fan base was hoping to experience from the 2025 season, with a lot of high-powered offensive production and on-point pitching. It's resulted in the Rangers being winners of 3 of their 5 last games and winners of their last 2, and remain 3 games below 500 and look to close out the series against the Twins with a win on Thursday afternoon. Alongside that, the pitching has stayed course, including good outings from Tyler Mahle, Jacob deGrom, Patrick Corbin, and Jack Leiter in this stretch. All signs are finally looking up. It's all about if it can be potentially sustainable. It feels as if we've been talking about the offensive struggles all season long, because we have. Then it makes talking about their successes that much more enjoyable. Over the last 5 games, Texas has scored 27 runs and have pushed their run differential to a positive for the first time in what seems like forever. Of course, a lot of that was done by their 16-4 outburst win over Minnesota. Noticeable, we've been seeing the resurgence of Marcus Semien and Evan Carter, which are truly the glue to everything offensively. Once they get rolling, it allows the rest of the offense to feed off their success and come into their own. We are still missing the typical production from Wyatt Langford and Corey Seager, but once that comes around, mixed with the pitching, this team could be a real threat in the second half. So, is Jack Leiter in the AL Rookie of the Year conversation yet? No way are we saying Leiter should win the American League Rookie of the Year award, but he should for sure be in the conversation. The 25-year-old right-hander started the year off looking like a brand new pitcher, surrendering only 1 run in his first 2 games, capped off by 5 shutout innings against the Reds on April 2nd. It, however, came to a screeching halt that same day because of a blister that sidelined him for a couple of weeks. Looking like his early season self, Leiter has shined in 2 of his last 3 starts against the Cardinals and Reds. For the season, he's made 11 starts for a .388 ERA with 45 strikeouts and a .124 whip. While they are a solid turnaround from his 2024 numbers, they still beat out the awards frontrunner and A's infielder Jacob Wilson. We are pretty much 1 month away from the 2025 MLB Draft, and with the Rangers holding the number 12 pick, Texas should have a good pick of the field for a potential future face of their organization. A huge consensus among baseball writers in Texas will end up selecting one of the highly touted prep infielders making waves early. It's also a possibility that Texas seems to go with a player close to their intended championship window and go after a college option, including Wake Forest's Murray Houston or Texas A&M's Jace Laviolette. Apologies if I butchered his name. The latter fits the trend of Chris Young's draft history as he selected a college player in the last 3 drafts: Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, and Malcolm Moore. First round of the draft kicks off July 13th on ESPN and MLB Network at 5 p.m. Therefore, Texas has time to make their choice and whether or not the team believes in their future build. Rangers pitching prospect continues his hot start and wins Minor League Pitcher of May honor. Mitch Bret had a great month of May and took home the organization's Starting Pitcher of the Month honors. Mitch Bret has come a long way since his tough start with Team Canada in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, but he's proving the age-old saying of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Bret, 21, was the Texas Rangers' 5th-round pick back in 2021 as a high school arm out of Prep Academy in Statesboro, Georgia, by way of Toronto. In his 4 professional seasons, including 10 starts in 2025, Bret has a career 3.05 ERA and a little over 300 innings of work. This season might be his shining star moment, thus far as he's compiled a 4-1 record with a 2.26 ERA, 61 strikeouts, and only 8 walks in 51 2/3 innings with AA Frisco. The month of May was especially kind to him, winning the organization's Starting Pitcher of the Month award after 27 innings of 4-run baseball, including a 6-inning scoreless outing when he struck out a career-high 10 batters. Everyone watching Bret as a 19-year-old in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, facing some of the league's toughest hitters, knew that it pretty much a losing battle from the first pitch, but he hung around. He was pulled from the game only recording 1 out, surrendering 4 runs, and leaving runners on the corners. But the best part of the whole experience was how he didn't let it get to him. He was emotional, obviously, but that season in High Hickory, he made 16 starts and in 61 innings had a 3.54 ERA and 73 strikeouts. Bret is again only 21 years old, has seen a plethora of ups and downs in some high-level scenarios. I imagine that Bret finds himself with an ERA near or below 3 heading into the second half of the season. He could get a promotion to Round Rock to close out the year. The Rangers are looking to salvage the closer role with a washed-up veteran that's going to infuriate some fans. Texas has inked the 37-year-old ex-ace on a minors deal, hoping he can soothe the bullpen's late-inning chaos. We knew the Texas Rangers were desperate for help at the closer position, but this is a bit ridiculous. Chris Young is undoubtedly willing to turn over every stone to try and improve his team's roster. But turning over a stone and Craig Kimbrell stumbling out was not on my bingo card. Of course, there was a time when signing Kimbrell as the Rangers' closer would be met with oohs and ahs, and his debut at Globe Life Stadium would drive ticket sales to the point of sellout. This version of Craig Kimbrell is likely the version you get when a Texas Ranger fan makes a wish on a monkey's paw. As a finger curls, a Craig Kimbrell that is 37 years old and who is such a shadow of his former self that even his old team wasn't willing to give him more than 1 appearance in the big leagues, jogs from the bullpen to the mound to try and hold a precious 2-1 lead in the 9th inning. If one were to look at Kimbrell's career numbers, 2.59 ERA and 440 saves, they might think that Young made a shrewd move. He'd finally found the guy who could nail down the end of games. However, he's a shadow of his former self these days. Last year, he couldn't last an entire season with the Orioles, who were not exactly pitching rich. He was released in September after posting a 5.33 ERA, blowing 6 saves and 29 chances. This spring, he signed with the Braves and opened the season with Gwinnett before being called up to Atlanta last week. He appeared in 1 game and then was designated for assignment. He chose free agency and, according to Ken Rosenthal, is now a member of the Rangers organization. In Young's defense, Rosenthal clarifies that this is a minor league deal. He doesn't get handed the closer role automatically. But it stands to reason Craig Kimbrell doesn't sign with the Texas Rangers if he's not given assurances he'll get a shot. If he does, fans will learn the meaning of be careful what you wish for rather quickly. Rangers star has shown patience is a virtue even this late into the season. The second baseman has caught fire since May 1st, and we are seeing vintage Marcus Semien return from the shadows. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, you know how it goes. The point being, we have seen Texas Rangers star second baseman Marcus Semien get off to a horrendous start before. Back in 2000, 22, Semien was hitting 190 in his first 50 games. Similarly, he had only hit 2 home runs with a 528 OPS. It looked as if the Rangers were getting robbed in the first year of a massive 7-year, $175 million contract. Around the beginning of May, however, Semien got hot and hit well with the rest of the season, finishing with typical Semien numbers of 248, 26 home runs, 83 RBIs, and 25 steals. He managed to put up a rare 25-25 season after a disastrous start. Semien's start to 2025 had Ranger fans worrying yet again, and asking questions if the Gold Glover and 3-time All-Star best days were behind him. But alas, it looks like this is becoming his modus operandi as he hits his mid-30s. They say patience is a virtue, and waiting for Semien to snap out of his funk has tested ours. Through 45 games, he was hitting just 176, and his lack of slug was concerning. In his first 220 at-bats, he had just 4 extra base hits. The last 20 games, however, have been vintage Semien. In that span, he has 63, 317, and he has started hitting with much more power, clubbing 3 homers to go along with 9 RBIs. He is also consistently barreling the ball with an exit velocity off the bat of 100+ miles per hour. Rangers manager Bruce Bochy desperately wants to continue to move Semien back towards his customary leadoff spot and have him hit before Corey Seager. As of June 8th, he had slotted Semien's hot bat in the cleanup spot, up from the 7th position, and the veteran has delivered in a big way. Let's hope that Semien continues to find his groove so the Rangers can get back into contention in a crowded AL West. Meanwhile, it'd be a lot easier on Marcus and the fanbase if he didn't continue to get off to such slow starts. Rangers are expected to steal some homegrown talent in the latest MLB mock draft. The trend of linking high school shortstops continues for the Rangers. This time, it's a different choice. Right in line with industry trends, the Texas Rangers continue to get linked to prep shortstops in various iterations of mock drafts for the upcoming July amateur draft. Kason Cunningham, a San Antonio native, is the Rangers' latest selection from MLB Pipeline's Jonathan Mayo. Josh Young, a Rangers fan favorite, was drafted out at Texas Tech, but grew up in San Antonio. Texas, which is where Cunningham is from as well. If you can set the precedent on what to expect from San Antonio prospects, then I'll sprint the card up to Rob Manfred myself. Cunningham, a shortstop commit to University of Texas, is not a lock to get to campus. At 5'10", and 175 pounds, he's an incredible athlete and realistically can be projected to fill out more while being able to play anywhere in the long term. The pick is against the past of Chris Young, which have all been decorated multi-year producers at the college level. We've seen the Young-led front office pick at number 2, 3, 4, and the highly coveted 30th pick. All that said, there isn't a precedent set in this draft range that can tell us what Texas is exactly looking for. The question that will pop up in a lot of Rangers fans' minds is, why would we pick a shortstop when we have Seager? The answer to that question is a prospect to the level of Cunningham. The pick would be very reminiscent of how the San Diego Padres operate. They are notorious for taking high school shortstops and producing superstars at other positions, just like they did for Jackson Merrill. When a player is dynamic and projectable as Cunningham comes along, you have to weigh going for him against drafting a college player, and Young's pass screams Murray Houston. Having someone from Texas like Cunningham that can stay in Texas, such as Young did, can be seen as a positive as well. There aren't many players that can be afforded that luxury. Prying Cunningham from his Texas commitment wouldn't be as easy as it seems as well. NIL is seemingly endless over in Austin, and being able to offer a high school prospect to stay in Texas at almost every minor league level can be positive and help aid his decision to sign. It will be an interesting build-up to July 13th. This is the second year in a row the industry has a consensus pick for the Rangers, following Malcolm Moore last year. We'll have to see if a trend is set of the media predicting the pick for Chris Young. And that is all the topics for this week's episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you want to support the channel, you can scan the QR code that's right there, or just go to buymeacoffee.com/TTRangers. As always, you can find us on all major podcast platforms, including Good Pods, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts from. And with that, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.